Welcome to the Pony Pundits for Friday, August 7th. I'm Marco D'Angelo. You can follow me on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. Joined today by my partner in crime, the one, the only, SIG. You can follow him at SIG Las Vegas, also known as AKA Mr. Pick 4, Mr. Pick 5, and the shirt. But hey, what's going on, man? Plain shirt today. Didn't do laundry this week or what?
You got me, Marco. The laundry needs to be done.
Well, you know what? We are doing this, over the internet. Nobody would smell the shirt if it's a little stinky there, buddy. Hey, big week. I know, you've been nailing Saratoga. I saw you do a tweet the other day. You looked at one of your accounts that you wager through, told you what your most profitable track was last month, gave you your summary. No surprise. Saratoga, the spa. You enjoy a good spa day. We all know that. But how's things been rolling for you, bud?
We've been pretty good. Last week was a little bit rough, but we bounced back on Sunday with
Nice.
both pick fives. I mean, over $1,600 in cashes. So we made up for a rough week last week. Not off to the best start so far this week, but hoping we're going to turn that around.
That's the beauty of horse racing. You could have a bad day all day and hit that last race and make a nice score on a ticket and makes up for the whole day. Or in your case on Sunday, having a couple pick fives and, bringing back, would you say like $1,600 total between the two?
$1,600.
Yeah. And I want to just say one thing. SIG's not one of these guys that puts out, $800 tickets for, pick fours and pick fives. I love guys that do that, not throwing stones, but I am, hey, you know what? Not everybody's bankroll can go that way. And I understand that's the way to go with big scores. When you're looking at carryovers and so forth, I used to do that back in the day. My home track at the Meadows, we had a group of guys. I had my box seats at the track, SIG. And unfortunately, you didn't, me and you weren't friends yet. We could have did some serious damage back then. But whenever there would be a carryover somewhere, me, the guy in the box behind me, the box to the right of me, we always put our money together, and we would play big tickets like that, syndicate plays. And that's how you bring down a monster. No question about that. But a lot of people do this on a daily basis, and I'm sorry, it's a recipe for disaster. I'm done ranting and raving. But let's go ahead and get to today's show. I want to tell everybody, if you're tuning in and watching us live, good, you got the new time. But if you're going to watch us later on replay, let me remind you, we're now live Fridays at 1 instead of 3. So still, you're not going to miss anything because all of the action is for Saturday. So anytime you watch us on Fridays, you're going to get all the information you need for Saturday. All right, guys, let's get into the show. When we started each week, news and notes, and let's go ahead and bring in SIG's news and notes for this week.
All right, guys, a couple of things to go over with you guys here. This weekend is the Ellis Park Derby. It's going to run on Sunday with Kentucky Derby points on the line for the first time. The race will be run at 1 1/8 miles and is going to offer 50 points to the winner on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Some notable entrants are Art Collector, who we last saw winning the Bluegrass pretty convincingly at Keeneland. He's already secured his spot in the Derby, but looking to get another start in here. Dean Martini, who was the winner of the Ohio Derby, is in here. Shared Sense, winner of the Indiana Derby at Indiana Grand. An interesting horse in here is number 18 right now on your Derby's point list, No Dior, who we haven't really seen, hasn't won a race since breaking his maiden last September at Golden Gate, but has been racing in quality races here. He was runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and this is one of the last opportunities, probably his last opportunity to secure himself a spot in the Kentucky Derby starting gate. It's going to be 4 weeks away here. He's 18th on the current points list, and the only other opportunity to gain points other than Saturday's Travers that we're going to talk about shortly, Sunday's Ellis Park Derby, is next Saturday is the Pegasus at Monmouth. And that's going to offer 20 points to the winner and points also for second, third, and fourth. But this is basically the last shot to earn yourself a spot at Derby Gate.
I'll tell you, Sig, you mentioned No Dior there. Me and that horse not on friendly terms. I think you had him once as well, but horse has been a disappointment. The connections, unless they run a big race here, even if you got the points, man, I don't know that Derby's the answer for this horse, because when he's gotten up against the top horses, just has not delivered to me. A big disappointment on that particular horse. And that Ellis Park race on Sunday, that's going to be fun. You know, I'm a big fan of Art Collector. We were both on that horse in his last start. That's one of those horses that we talked about. If the Kentucky Derby would have been run when it should have been run, that first Saturday in May, we wouldn't have been talking about that particular horse at all, as well as a horse that we're going to be talking about when we get to the Travers today is another horse that definitely would not have been on the Derby trail. Anything else you got for us?
A couple other things here, Marco. This weekend is your last opportunity to participate in the Kentucky Derby Futures wager. This is poll number 7. And as expected, Tiz the Law was installed as your 9-5 favorite, but the actual odds won't actually be set until the poll closes on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll actually be talking about Tiz the Law shortly here, as he is in the Travers, and that is our race of the day.
Sig, I want to just throw something back to last weekend, because we had some big races last weekend. And with the odds, this will be the final pool. How much do you think Honor AP hurt himself last week as far as the future markets go with where people think? Because pretty much, with the exception of these late bloomers that, are surfacing right now, it's been a 2-horse race for the Kentucky Derby after we had all of the defections from injuries along the Kentucky Derby campaign trail. But I think he took a step backwards last week. Or I'm going to pose something to you when we break down this week's Travers and see what your thoughts are. But how did you read that race last week?
He had some trouble in that race. I mean, yes, he did not look like the Honor AP that we saw win the Santa Anita Derby. But like I said, he had some trouble starting in the race. He made a nice finish, just missing there, finishing second. I definitely, it's going to hurt his odds going in, which might not be too bad. I mean, I had 2 horses that I was looking at right now for the Derby. I've been looking at Tiz the Law is one of them that we're going to talk about. Honor AP is the other one. He looked fantastic when that Santa Anita Derby. Not so much at Del Mar in the shared belief, but he's got another month. And I think, their target, just like Tiz's, was the Kentucky Derby the entire year. And maybe it was more of an off race, I think, than anything. I don't think it's going to affect his performance in the Kentucky Derby. And I still see Honor AP as a major contender.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say what I was thinking, and then we're going to talk about that with Tiz the Law in the Derby. The only difference is, or in the Travers Stakes, there was a big difference in purses between the Travers and the shared belief last week. I think the shared belief race for Honor AP was nothing more than a paid workout. And they didn't, the orders were get what you can get, but don't extend the horse in doing so, because we got the big race in a month. We got the Kentucky Derby. That's where, the prize is. That's where our eyes are set. Our goals have been set. Now, for when we get to the Travers Stake and we talk about Tiz the Law, we're talking about a much bigger purse in the Travers. And, you're looking at a purse in the Travers of $1 million. That's a lot. There's a lot of money. Obviously, winning the Triple Crown is going to be even more money as far as a horse for syndication and breeding, and everybody wanting, to get, a foal out of Tiz the Law. So we'll talk about that when we get to the race of the day. And what else you got on news and notes?
Well, Marco was talking earlier about setting up a syndicate and playing some bigger tickets. And this weekend's a perfect opportunity to do that. You and a couple of buddies want to play. If it's not hit today or tomorrow, the Empire 6 at Saratoga will be a mandatory payout on Sunday. As of yesterday, it was at $1.1 million. If this does go to carryover, I would expect $5 to $6 million at least in the pool on Sunday. And that's not all. Gulfstream Park also will have a mandatory on Sunday for their Rainbow 6 if it's not hit today or tomorrow. So a couple opportunities to play some big tickets on Sunday and maybe hit a nice score for yourself.
Yeah, and what do they say about Saratoga? That's where champions go to die. So you get those long shots that light up the tote board. And if you're going to go deep on a race, and we talked about it, this is the type of races, absolutely, Sig, that you spend more money because there's so much money in the pool to start already. That's, like I like to play poker, and I always, use the reference. It's like, whenever they splash the pot, a splash pot, a lot of casinos will do out here on Monday Night Football. If you're playing in the poker room when Monday Night Football's on, if a team scores a touchdown, the next hand they'll draw a table and they'll splash the pot with $100. That's $100 free dollars. And then people lose their mind and are going all in with anything, trying to steal the 100. But in this instance, you're splashing the pot with, a million, over $1 million to start the day. And then there's going to be so much more money bet into that. It's definitely a great day to swing for the fences, so to speak. I'll look forward to that. And it should grow, pretty good over the Saturday card because it's a Saturday card, going to get a lot of TV action coverage with the Travers and everything. And if it's not hit on Saturday, it's hard to hit those because it has to be one unique winner. Not, you can have the 6 for 6 and not, and have 20 winners. That jackpot still carries over. You get a prize for the 6 for 6, but you're not taking down that big jackpot. So looking forward to that on Sunday. Anything else, buddy?
Guys, just remember, too, Marco and I don't encourage you to play these jackpot wagers on a daily basis. They aren't positive EV, but on these mandatory payout days, all the dead money already in the pool makes these positive EV wagers. So remember that when you are playing. A couple other things. We don't talk about parks too often here on the show, but it was interesting this week. They did cancel all of their open stakes for the remainder of the year, including both the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cotillion Stakes, both of which have $1 million purses. The COVID shutdowns have dramatically hurt horse racing in some of these jurisdictions because the casinos provide the money for these purses. Parks is connected to a casino, and they contribute to these big purses. And unfortunately, these tracks, we saw it with Mountaineer with the West Virginia Derby last month, and we've seen it with some other tracks. They've either cut the purses or they've had to basically cut the races off of their schedule because they couldn't provide the purses normally expected for Grade 1 races.
Yeah, Sig, let me jump in. Another end of that I will feel a pinch on being a horse breeder here in Pennsylvania. You get money. If I sell a yearling, Sig, even though I sold the horse and no longer own it, if I was the breeder on the horse and I bred to a Pennsylvania stallion and my mare resided her whole pregnancy in the state of Pennsylvania, that's a Pennsylvania, bred horse, eligible to the Pennsylvania Sire Stake program. But more importantly, I get a share of the Breeders' Fund. And the Breeders' Fund is what you're talking about, money that's generated through wagering through the casinos and stuff. A portion of that money obviously goes to the races, but the bulk of that goes to funding these races and where you see these purses. But part of that money goes to the Breeders' Fund. And the people that breed the horses get a percentage of what that horse earns in the state of Pennsylvania as a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, which is where the horses make their most money because that's when the stake races are for those horses at 2 and 3. But it's based on a percentage every year. The percentage is not determined until the calendar year is over and the books are audited and so forth and see how much money is in the pool. Well, the amount of money that goes into the pool is in direct correlation to the amount of money the casinos are earning at these racetracks. And you hit the nail on the head. Casinos are hurting right now. There were months of shutdown completely, and now a lot of restrictions, limitations to how many people can be in the casino while they're open. You're looking at 50% capacity automatically because you have to go every other machine and so forth. So definitely going to be a trickle-down effect to everyone in the industry, what has happened this year with COVID-19. And the sad part about those races at Mountaineer and at Parks, those are signature races for those tracks. Those were always big days for those. Obviously, they weren't going to have the big days with crowds because no spectators right now. But a lot of horsemen that have a horse that, let's say, is not in the grade 1 tier. There may be, when they race at the grade 1, they're at the bottom of the grade 1s. But when they race in a grade 2, they're in the upper half of the horses in that race. Those were the perfect type of races for those guys that just have a horse not good enough for the Triple Crown trail, but can make some nice money scoring at the Pennsylvania Derby or the West Virginia Derby. We saw the Indiana Derby run earlier this year. We saw the Ohio Derby run, and it gets horses, a nice purse check to run to that maybe is just a notch below the top horses in the country. So that's where the bad break really goes, in my opinion.
Can't argue with it at all, Marco, on that point. And the fact is, too, the horse racing industry goes on, whether the casino, the track, anything shut down. The horses need to be taken care of. People need to be paid on the backside, on the front side. It's going to hurt the economy, and for years, I think, going forward here. And hopefully we can just get through this and keep moving on.
And moving on, anything else?
One last note, guys. I haven't had a horse for you guys to watch for a while, but found it interesting this week that last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, Storm the Court, is going to be racing in a Derby on the first weekend of September. We're just not sure which Derby it's going to be. His trainer, Peter Urton, has decided to give the colt a shot on the turf this weekend in the La Jolla handicap at Del Mar. Depending on how well he performs, his next race will either be the Kentucky Derby on the dirt or the Del Mar Derby on the turf. Storm the Court has not finished better than third in 4 races since winning that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and it's a free roll for Storm the Court because he's got enough points right now to get into the Derby. He's currently sitting at 17th with 36 points. So he's going to need a couple of horses to, finish 1-2 to leapfrog him in there. So maybe this is the answer because he hasn't raced as good as that Breeders' Cup. And you know what? We've seen it so many times, Sig. How many times have you seen a horse have that big, a good 2-year-old season, finish it off, racing deep into the season because the Breeders' Cup doesn't come until that first weekend in November. So that's late into the season to race the 2-year-old, especially if you're going to put that 2-year-old back on the campaign trail for the Triple Crown. You got to get started again in January to have those prep races, to lead up to that first Saturday in May, which obviously didn't happen this year, but they didn't know that last year. And a lot of times it takes a lot out of that 2-year-old. It takes a while for that horse to find his way. Now, for Storm the Court, he's taken way too long to find his way for the 3-year-old season. So this might be, a little bit of a panic button, but it's the best time to do it. You got a free roll, and maybe turf is where the horse wants to go, and a lot of racing ahead of him if that's the route that he chooses. Good stuff as always, Sig, with news and notes. And I want to remind everybody that you can pick up Sig's race card. Every day Saratoga's up. Get Sig's race report. It's just $9, guys. He covers all the races for you. You got his top choice, value bets, long shots, those famous pick 4s and pick 5s. They're all in there. Check it out daily for my buddy Sig. Just $9. What a great deal. All right, Sig, quick reminder, every day, Monday through Friday, and we've got a couple weekend shows too, but Monday through Friday, 2 shows, noon Eastern, 3 Eastern. Check them out. Actually, I think a couple of the times changed around because I'm on one of the shows twice a week. First Pitch, baseball's on at 2 Eastern. So check the lineup. Follow us on Wager Talk TV. You're not going to miss anything. And, of course, we got bumped from our normal 3 o'clock time slot. I think the NBA show is in there now. So you'll find us on Fridays at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Guys, just so many shows and information that we're putting up every day and producing content at Wager Talk. Truly is your one-stop shop, wagertalk.com. All right, Sig, you know what time it is. It's race of the day time, and we're heading to your place, your home away from home, Saratoga, the Spa, race 11, the Travers. It's going to be a good one. The Kentucky Derby favorites in here. Even money, morning line. Is he an absolute lock in this race? We're going to go through all of the horses in this race, but let's cut to the chase. Let's start with Tiz the Law. Let's change it up. Let's go ahead and talk to him, and then I'll tell you my feelings. I threw you a curveball, didn't I?
Didn't throw you a curveball.
You got all your notes in a certain order, and you know what? I feel good. I'm running the ship, calling the shots, and I caught you off guard. Go ahead.
Right, guys. Tiz the Law. We got Manny Franco riding again for Barclay Tag. He is 1-1, even money on the morning line. Your Belmont Stakes winner is your rightful favorite in here, I think. Other than his third place finish over a sloppy Churchill track back last November in the Kentucky Jockey Club, this horse has done everything that's ever been asked of him. He's never won any race less than 3 lengths, and he seems to thrive the longer the race goes. So at this mile and a quarter, I think he's just going to eat it up. I love Tiz the Law here, and I believe he cements himself as the Derby favorite on Saturday.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling. I think the last 3 times that we've done races with Tiz the Law, and it's been in the pick 4, my buddy has had a single with Tiz the Law, and I'm feeling it might happen again today. But I'm going to point something. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute, and that's why I wanted to start with this horse. And I kind of teased it a little bit when we were talking about Honor AP. The goal is the Triple Crown in the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky Derby is the race everybody wants to win. Okay, we all, as owners, we want those purse checks. There's no question about that. But there's certain races, SIG, that just have that prestige. You want to have that trophy on your mantle, and there's no question that's the Kentucky Derby. When anybody that's ever gotten into the horse business, you've dreamed about that day of winning that particular race. And that's got to be the big prize. But you are going for $1 million today. The question is, do you want to race this horse on his toes, pedal to the metal, and win this race, take that $1 million race, and maybe compromise yourself a little bit in the Derby if you take a little bit too much out of the gas tank? And when I go back and I look at that race last week with Honor AP, I just felt that was a glorified paid training, in my opinion. It was a short field. They needed to get a race before the Derby, but I just don't think they cranked the barrel down and went full throttle in that race. And going here, that's my only concern is, if the 2 horses are coming down the top of the stretch, do you want to have an all-out duel between this horse and, the other horse that's going to be, I think, on the front end in this race, Uncle Chuck, and we'll talk about him as we go through the rest of the field. If you're the jockey, are you instructed, hey, Manny Franco, get what you can get, but leave something in the tank? Does that concern you at all?
To Marco, I could see, and I understand it with Honor AP, but Tiz the Law is owned by a stable called Saratoga Stables. They're based in Saratoga. These are the races that they're looking to win. So, I think that the plan is to come in, win the Travers, have 4 weeks off before the Derby. Every time that they've asked Tiz the Law to run, he's run. I still don't think we've seen his best race. I think he still has more in the tank. So it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to get a battle this week. I think Uncle Chuck is going to give him all he can handle, but I think this horse has more in him.
All right. Well, let's start through the field. Let's start with the first horse. Number 1, first line, 30-1, my friend, morning line. David Cohen's up on this one. Do you give this horse any shot?
I don't. I think it's a very ambitious placement here. This horse just broke his maiden last week at Saratoga. So wheeling him back here into a grade 1 stakes, it takes guts. But the only thing I want to point out is his trainer, Orlando Noda, has been winning some big races here with some prices. So I don't see this gelding being a factor in here, but we've seen stranger things happen, Marco.
Yeah, I'm looking at that trainer over the last 30 days, a 33% win mark and a ROI of plus 130%. That's getting it done if you're betting on all of his horses. So obviously the public doesn't think much of his horses, that it was that big of a return. Number 2, and I agree with you 100%, this horse should not be in this race. Just breaking your maiden. And it's not like he had been racing bang-up races. Yes, he'd been hitting the board, but if you look at the speed figures prior to the last race when he finally did break his maiden, speed figures were not that good. And to be able to go what he's going to have to go in this race, very, very tall order indeed. Number 2, Country Grammar, 6-1 on the morning line. One of the hottest jockeys in the world, Irad Ortiz Jr., started the first week at Saratoga slow. Everybody was like, what? You know, his brother was running away with it early, and then Joel Rosario got hot, and then we knew it would only be a matter of time for Irad to get in there. How do you see this one with Country Grammar?
Irad never cools off, but Jose and Joel were both winning races. Irad's catching right back up, though. So, yeah, Country Grammar is 6-1 your morning line. Last time we saw him, he won the Peter Pan at Belmont 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry. The Peter Pan, yeah, at Saratoga. I apologize. They were already at Saratoga at that point.
Normally it's at Belmont, though.
Normally, yeah, so threw me. The combination of Brown and Irad Ortiz is always dangerous in New York. I think this horse has a chance to hit the board. He is going to have to make a major step forward, though.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. But in this case, with this horse, he has raced against some tougher horses, and he is moving in the right direction. You look at his races this year. He made his debut in February, obviously needed that race, but then we had the shutdown, and he doesn't race again until June. And what did we see in that race in June? Well, he pushed the issue, made a big move, might have made the move a little bit too soon, got up to second, top of the stretch, but then faded to third. Again, like I said, with his first start of the year, to me, this was like his first start part 2, because there was the gap from February to June. That definitely was a tightener race, and we saw it in his next race. Made that same exact move, got to the second at the top of the stretch, but carried it home for the victory. So this is a horse heading in the right direction from the layoff from February to June. This now would be the third start off of the layoff, and you've heard me talk about that so many times. The third start off of a long layoff is the best in the form cycle. You will see improvement from race 1 to 2 and from race 2 to 3. 3 is the big one. That's, the horse should be tight now. He's back on a normal schedule. We'll see what Country Grammar has. The next horse, SIG, this is the buzz horse. This is the horse that, is coming to the party late, but man, he's coming to the party loud. We know he's there. And interesting, Uncle Chuck was entered last week in the Shared Belief, but Bob Baffert chose to scratch him in lieu of shipping him to Saratoga. If you're looking for an easier race, last week would have been it. It was a short field. You're at home. You don't have to travel. That would have been the way to go. But Baffert had some other horses in that race. And to me, this is his best horse moving forward to the Derby, Uncle Chuck. I think he wanted to get this horse in a serious race, go for, the bigger point allowance. And this is a very good test for Uncle Chuck. We're going to get a great measuring stick. And regardless of what Uncle Chuck does in this race, SIG, that doesn't define him. This is only going to be his third lifetime start. You've heard me talk about that sweet spot with horses, young horses especially. They can make big jumps, leaps and bounds, third, fourth, fifth start. They're still learning and putting it all together. Now, so far, this horse has answered every test. He's not been tested in reality. They've sent him down the road and away he went. He's going to get a challenge in the stretch in this race. He's going to be on the front end, I believe, in this race, but he's going to take a stiff chest test when 'tis the law looms largely, up on the outside in this race to encounter him deep stretch. Does Uncle Chuck make the move forward? Does he have a shot at the upset, or do you think he's racing for second money?
It's going to be interesting. I'm actually really looking forward to this race on Saturday, Marco. It's kind of like, like you mentioned earlier, Uncle Chuck didn't even make his first start until June. In a normal Derby year, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and most likely the Belmont would have already been done and over by the time Uncle Chuck made his debut. But the delay in the Kentucky Derby this year is giving this horse an opportunity. You mentioned about Baffert shipping him up here and not sending him down to Del Mar for the Shared Belief last week. If you notice, Bob doesn't like to run his Derby horses against each other if he doesn't have to. We see him ship to Oaklawn, and they split divisions. We've seen him ship to other places, and they've split divisions for the horses. And he luckily they don't end up in the same draw for some reason. I guess the guy's just lucky or something. But Uncle Chuck, he's won his only 2 career starts. Last time he did win at the Los Al Derby over his stablemate 1,000 Words, who we saw last week and looked pretty good against Honor AP at Del Mar in that Shared Belief. If you watch the Los Al Derby, though, he was tiring in the stretch. He was drifting a little bit down the lane. The work's indicating that they are working on his stamina. But it's asking a lot of this colt to come in here against more experienced horses into a Grade 1, against a Tiz de Law, against some other horses that have been running in tougher company. So we're really going to see what Uncle Chuck's made of on Saturday. I do think that Baffert has his horse ready, and he always has his horses ready, especially when he's shipping them from somewhere other than California. If anyone can upset Tiz de Law in this spot, it's Uncle Chuck with a huge performance.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you on that. And I think it says everything you need to know about Uncle Chuck. The fact that this is the horse that he elected to send east to the much tougher race, the Travers. He's very high on Uncle Chuck. And I think it's perfect if, Uncle Chuck races the way we expect him to race, and he does move on to the Derby. He's already going to be here. I would think he would ship from here straight down to Louisville and train right up to the Derby there and get acclimated, giving the horse every opportunity to win that race. And he'll already, have that long ship under his belt and be ready to go. Uncle Chuck, I'm excited for this. I want to see what happens when he gets looked in the eye. And that's always the test of a front runner. What he does the first time that this horse, when they're in deep stretch and there's a horse, on his inside or on his outside, most likely to be on his outside because he's going to be on the front end, what this horse does. And that's when we find out, and I hate to coin the phrase, but it is the phrase, we find out if he has the heart of a champion. And that's what we will see. And to me, like I said, in the back of my mind, I don't think he's ready to beat Tiz de Law. I think this race would be a major stepping stone for him in closing the gap with Tiz de Law. But in the back of my mind, I still can't help to think, and you brought up a good point about the ownership group. This is the track they want, they want to win at Belmont. They want to win at Saratoga. Well, they already got their Belmont win. So, now, to get the Saratoga win, it would almost be, I don't want to say anticlimactic to win the Kentucky Derby because that would be just plain insane. But this ownership group has already won a Kentucky Derby. So it's still going to be there. I just, hate to see if this is a bang up 2-horse battle it out from the top of the stretch home. We're not talking Aladar and Affirmed here, but you want to leave something in the tank. That's my only good. And that's me as an owner. That's my owner side of me talking. Now, the other part of the owner side of me is this is $1 million race, and you get money when you can get money because there's no guarantees in horse racing. Last week's show, we talked about when we had our guest Jeff Zidek on that the horse that set a world record in the eliminations wasn't able to race in the final for the big money. It was going for a $345,000 purse. Why? Because the horse suffered an injury in setting that world record performance and now is most likely done. Will be going off to breeding. So, yeah, get the money when you can get the money. But with the Kentucky Derby looming large, that's my only concern with the Tis the Law. Interesting horse, and man, you can't go on Twitter. I know you make jokes sometimes, and this particular race is the Runhappy Travers Stakes. We see the Runhappy commercials all the time. Well, we don't see these commercials on the big networks. But, man, if you're on Twitter and you follow horse racing, you see the ads regarding Max Player. This is one of those horses that was offered as a partnership group. And, a lot of people got to take advantage of it, owning a micro share. And we do mean micro share. They're selling, shares as, I think it's as low as, $200?
Max Player, yep.
I think that gets you one of the hairs out of the horse's tail when they brush it, But, it's an interesting concept. And it's something that, I had thought about, doing myself over the years, putting my knowledge of horse racing together and put together a syndicate to buy horses. Because obviously you have strength in numbers, and the more people involved, you can get ownership for smaller prices, and it lets the average Joe come in and own a piece of a horse, and it's very exciting. And Max Player's done well. This is again one of those horses that I will say has the license to jump up and run a big race. Only 4 lifetime starts, 2 last year, 2 this year. You can't fault the horse. His first start, he wins, comes back, major test. In the Belmont in races against Tis the Law, and finished a very good fast closing third, only was beaten by Dr. Post. And, Max Player cost me, a big exact, Dr. Post saved us. We had Dr. Post in there, but it was a situation that week Max Player was getting a lot of buzz. He's the buzz horse. Is it because of the horse himself, or because everybody surrounded around the horse and the hype machine that is in buying a piece of Max Player?
I think that's a little bit of both. I mean, I'm not even sure they offered him before the Belmont Stakes. I think they offered him after the Belmont Stakes performance. But you see that also, with Authentics, and also another horse that is going to be on the Kentucky Derby that you can buy a piece of through a different syndicate group. But these micro ownerships definitely make it more interesting. And how would you like to be sitting either at home or at a sports book or at an OTB on Kentucky Derby Day and watch your horse win, even a micro share, just to say you owned a part of a Kentucky Derby winner? I mean, it's a story of a lifetime. I'd love to have it. I don't think either Authentic or Max Players win in the Kentucky Derby this year, but still have another 4 weeks to decide who is going to.
No question. No question. What a thrill. I can tell you the thrill I have whenever just winning an overnight race, okay, to be that and do that for a race like that. But I got to tell you, Sig, this became very popular the last, couple of years, more so this year. But unfortunately, again, because of COVID, you really don't get to enjoy it to the extent that you would. Could you imagine whether we joke about owning a hair of the horse's tail, but still to own a piece of the horse and to go to the Kentucky Derby that day, what a thrill that would be. I mean, you can't – it's one of those experiences of a lifetime, whether the horse hits the board or not. Just racing in those big races like that, it's fun being at the track. And before it's all said and done, we're gonna get you involved in a horse. Whether I get you, a tail, a hair off the tail, or maybe a little higher up the tail where it connects, we're going to get you something involved in horses. But Max Player, do you see him? How do you see him in this race?
It's actually he's interesting because he was off for that layoff prior to just showing up and running the Belmont, running a nice third against 2 quality horses in Tis the Law and Dr. Post. He should improve off of that effort, and I think any improvement off that effort definitely gets him on the board here on Saturday. I'm definitely using him underneath on my tickets.
Yeah, he's trained by Linda Rice, and she closed out the Belmont meet, with some nice races. But then she opened up the Saratoga meet. If you remember that first week, she came out of the gate fire and had some, winners there. And definitely a trainer, female trainer that's done a tremendous job with this particular horse. And that's why I wasn't as high on Max Player, and that cost me the trifecta is what it cost me. that day as everybody else was, simply because there was such a gap there in making that jump in class. I just didn't think he could handle it, and he proved me wrong, and he might prove me wrong again here. I think Max Player is a player in this race, but I think there's some other horses that are better. SIG, this next horse, when I handicapped it, this horse gave me the most trouble in this race of what to do. Based off the last line, you want to just put a line through this horse and pitch it and say goodnight and move on. But then you look and the horse go 2 back. This horse fought Tiz the Law and gave Tiz the Law his most difficult race to date. Did that race just take too much out of him?
Like you're saying, he fought the law and the law won.
Yes, he did.
You know what, Marco? I mean, Chivalry, I've looked at, this is going to be this horse's 13th race, and he's just in his middle of his 3-year-old season. And what it comes down to is I don't think Chivalry wants this distance. If you look at his past performances, other than that Florida Derby where he finished second at a huge price, it was 80-1 that day, he's missed the board in his other starts going longer than a mile. He's a pace setter, so I think it's going to be interesting to see if Uncle Chuck lets him go out front. I don't think he's going to. And if he does, he most likely will run himself out before they get to the top of the stretch. He's a toss for me in here.
All right. I just think that one race was, the outlier in last week or last race. I don't want to say last week, but the last race, man, left a lot to be desired. This horse stopped bad. And, I tried to look and see if, sometimes, you got to read through trainer speak and excuses and so forth. Did a horse throw a shoe? Did he tongue tie come loose? Anything for an excuse. And I wasn't able to find anything. So I'm just, this is a horse that if he runs back to that race 2 races back, I'm not going to be happy on Saturday, Sig. Moving on to the last horse in the race we talked about, it's Tiz the Law in Tiz the Law. No, it's not actually the last horse in the race. We got 2 more horses. We talked about Tiz the Law. This is probably going to be most people's single. There's 2 races in that late pick 4 that has opportunities for singles. And this is one of those races where this is almost like a free spot in most people's eyes. Anything else you want to add to Tiz the Law? He's trained well. Everybody that has commented, that has seen this horse on the track, says he looks better than he did in the Belmont. Okay, that is a very good sign when you've got a horse that's on the campaign trail of, the Derby prep races, then race one of the Triple Crown races because we're racing them out of order this year already, and not to start, losing a little bit of weight and so forth to be looking better. That's one hell of a, statement for a horse. And that's what you want to see with a horse moving in this direction.
Right. Tiz the Law actually reminds me compared to boxing as a champion boxer who faces all comers and changes weight classes and still wins. I mean, he's raced in allowance races. He's raced in maiden races. He's raced in graded stakes races. Everybody comes at him. He takes them on, knocks them down, and goes on to the next one. So I don't see anything changing on Saturday.
Hey, Sig, we've got a couple comments from Twitter. Just want to give a shout out to Michael Paul. He says he loves the ponies more than he likes to admit it. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't be ashamed. Wear your badge of honor. Glad and appreciate you tuning into the show like that. And he's definitely a follower of other shows of mine because he also put in there, Marco, any sandwich look-ahead spots for these horses? That's definitely a reference from the Bet On It show, and I appreciate you watching all of the shows. Michael, we appreciate your loyalty. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, Bet On It will be back this year for football, and definitely we'll have the NFL. We're still seeing what's going to happen in college football, looking more and more like we're going to, try to get a college football season, a shortened schedule, mostly conference play. Won't have that first month of, as I like to say, the powerhouses playing the little sisters of the poor and cupcake games, but that's okay. It's all about the conference schedule. So when that happens, we'll have the college edition of Bet On It as well. All right, 2 more horses to talk about in the Travers. And the one that this horse intrigues me, Sig, number 7, Cara. This is a horse. Castellano will be up, and the horse is on the improve. Now, definitely the horse is making class jumps. Now, raced only 3 starts, got a win in 2 seconds. 2 maiden races, finished second in its first race, good educational race, then jumps up, second asking, nice speed figure, wins easily in its second start, and then they asked it for a test, stepped it up, graded stakes, put it into grade 3 Peter Pan stakes, and raced tremendously, finished second in that race, had the lead in deep stretch, got beat by a horse in this race, Country Grammar, but I got to say, Sig, that was the horse's first race since January. And if I'm going to compare Country Grammar and I'm going to compare the 7 horse here, Cara, I think this horse has the better license to take the bigger step forward. Second race off the long layoff, this horse is going to be much better than it was in finishing second by a neck.
I can't argue with you at all on that one, Marco. The one thing that did catch my attention on Cara is that Castellano's hopping aboard for the ride. He's won the Travers 6 times already, so he knows what it takes to win this race. Is this horse good enough? I narrowed my tickets down. I did not use this horse on my tickets, and as you just mentioned, the way he battled Country Grammar and the Peter Pan, he definitely deserves a look here. I may reconsider by tomorrow, but as of right now, I'm not using him on my tickets. I think it'll be a great learning experience for him, and I expect to see some good races from him this fall.
And to point out, you mentioned Castellano. Castellano was aboard this horse last time out, so has the luxury of, getting a race under his belt, get some of the tendencies of the horses and so forth. I love to, have the same rider up. And just to point out with some of these horses, especially the horses that were on the West Coast, Uncle Chuck being the example there for sure, because of the quarantine situation at Saratoga, a lot of horses, the horses are shipping in, but the jockeys are not. They're not permitted to change tracks like that because of the quarantine. So some of these horses will be getting different jockeys, and that's always a concern sometimes with the horses on what's going to happen in that particular race. I do like the 7 horse here. I think this is one of those ones where, the sky's the limit. This horse is definitely on an upward trajectory, improving in every start. I think you're going to see an even better performance today. Is that good enough to get this horse in the mix of talking Kentucky Derby? Well, the horse does have points and can solidify a spot in the Derby with a good placing here. So this is definitely a race that the horse on paper should improve, and a horse that definitely we know they're going with because they need to get some points. The last horse in this race, number 8, South Bend, 15-1. Although this horse is coming off racing in the Ohio Derby and finishing second in that race to Dean Martini, this is a horse that I think this is a major class jump for this horse. I don't think he's on the par with some of these other horses in this race, Sig. And coming from the outside post, he doesn't have a lot of speed at the gate. You don't see this horse forwardly placed that often. So he's going to get a wide trip. I think he's up against it. I don't have South Bend in my tickets.
Surprisingly, this is my long shot selection here, Marco.
Try to sell me.
So much. A couple of things on South Bend. I love the 15-1 on the morning line. He did finish second in the Ohio Derby, but after that, there was a big trainer change here. He went from Stanley Huff to Bill Mott. Bill Mott then throws Jose Ortiz on board, and they throw him into the Travers Stakes here, grade 1. He had a very promising start to his career, winning 3 straight wins, but he hasn't seen the winner's circle since last October at Churchill. And Jose doesn't ride too often for Bill Mott, but when he does, they're in the money 56% of the time. So I think this horse is going to be ready. I think Jose gives him a shot, one of the leading jockeys at Saratoga for this meet. And he's a late runner, which should suit him well in this field. I do see, I mean, we talk about Chivalry going out, Uncle Chuck going out front, Tizzle sitting just off of him. If those horses tire out, it's going to leave a horse like the 8 South Bend an opportunity to come down and pick some horses up coming down the lane here. I'm using him on my exotic tickets underneath.
I can see if I'm using on a trifecta or superfecta in the third or fourth slot. I just don't see him getting up there for second. I think a horse like Max Player, who has already demonstrated that he can close into good horses as he did in the last race, would be a horse that would outrun him in the stretch. But, again, this is a horse that's there. The only other thing I don't like to throw a knock at South Bend is, and I talk about this the first Saturday in May all the time, if you get a horse that comes to the Derby and he's sitting there with 9, 10, 11 races under his belt, he is what he is, okay? There's no surprises to me as far as the horse jumping up and having monster races. I think South Bend is at where he's at, and he needs another step forward to me to compete in this one as far as the exacta to be first or second, and I just don't see him being there. But that's why we do this show, is because me and you can argue. We like to do that. It's fun. So
show to do that.
Yeah, and it's everybody has an opinion. You know what they say about opinions. So we'll see how it plays out on Saturday. So Sig, we got to go ahead and roll through. We talked here a good bit about these races. We got to get the show wrapped up. I just looked at the clock here, and we're coming up on the hour. So let's finish out our pick 4. We're going to go to the races. I'll have you give me your picks for the 9th race. We'll start that. Tell me who your top horse is and how deep you're going in that particular race, and then just give me something to say about the top horse. And I will be putting up the actual pick 4 numbers on the screen for you guys here at the end, so stay tuned for that. And let's go to the pick 4, race 9, Saratoga, first leg. What's your numbers?
All right, guys, this was the toughest race for me to narrow down. I think it's a very competitive field. I actually went 5 deep here. I'm using the 5, the 7, the 1, the 4, and the 2 is my long shot selection in the race here. The 5 Olympic Games is 4-1 your morning line. Irad's riding for Christophe Clement, who's been super hot so far through the Saratoga meet. All this European import need is a good trip, which she hasn't received in her first 2 American starts. She's finished second in both of those, though, even with not the best trip. Clement's been on fire at Saratoga, and I think this is the horse to win here.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, but I did put a horse in front of him. My numbers in this race, Sig, are 4, and I'm going deep in this one as well. I'm going 4, 5, 2, 1, 7. I put the 4 on top. My sister Nat. I can't argue at all about Christopher Clement there. He's been just absolutely owned Saratoga this meet. But you know what? The horse, the trainer on the 4, Chad Brown, has done pretty well also. And what I like about my sister Nat, this horse is an invader from France that raced here last year, the end of the season, and then had a long layoff from November till June. We'll come back off the layoff. And Chad Brown's one of the best at bringing the horses back and ready off of long layoffs. But still, I don't care how good you are, they're never wound tighter, as they're going to be in that first start. And that horse finished second and made a big close through the stretch, passing the rest of the field. The horse that won clear, but he swooped the rest of the field in that race. I think this race, I should say she's going to be a lot closer and going to be flying. I like this horse in this race. I think she's the horse to beat. If she does get beat, I think it's wide open, the 5 being the most logical, but there are some very good horses in this race, and that's why I went 5 deep. In the 10th race, this is a 2-horse race in my opinion. I went 5, 6, 2, 3, but I'm only using 2 horses in this one as far as my pick 4 goes. I'm going 5-6 here.
Can't disagree with you at all, Marco. A lot of people are going to single the 5 here. And guys, this race is called the Test Stakes. It is going to be a test year for Gamine. I think it's the first time we're going to see her actually tested. She's gone out to the lead in every one of her starts and basically wired the field. She is going to have some competition for the front spot with the 4 Wicked Whisper, who likes to be a front runner in here. It's going to be interesting to see the tactics that John Velasquez and Bob Baffert decide to use, if they're going to go early with Wicked Whisper. And if they do, I think the race sets up well for Venetian Harbor, who's had some really bullet works here. The past couple last 2 workouts have been fantastic. And I think if this race does break down or Gamine gets used up early, Venetian Harbor is going to sweep in and clean up.
All right. I agree. Venetian Harbor, I think Joel Rosario is going to look at the gate when they break. This horse, does, break out of the gate well. I think if Wicked Whisper does not go, Venetian Harbor is going to be sitting second. And letting Gamine set the pace, and then it'll be like a match race coming down the stretch. If Wicked Whisper does go with Gamine, I think Venetian Harbor is going to be looking at her chops at the top of the stretch. She'll be sitting third, just hoping that Wicked Whisper takes enough out of Gamine that when she looms up on the outside, she can go on by. So that's why I'm going too deep in this one with the 5-6. We've talked in detail about the Travers. No surprise. We're both singling Tiz the Law in this one. It's his horse, his race to lose. I definitely like Tiz the Law. We'll move to the last race, and it's a race where we're going to get a little bit of an argument, and we got to wrap it up here. Sig, give me your horses in this one. I know you're going deep as well in this race. Tell me how you see the 12th and final, the final leg of the pick 4.
Well, Marco, I'm 4 deep in here. I went with the 3, the 2, the 6, and the 9. My ticket in general went 5-7-1-4-2 with 5-6 with 6 with 3-2-6-9 is a $20 ticket.
All right, my friend, I'm sorry you only go 4 deep. I go 6 deep here. And we're going with the 5, 3, 9, 7, 2, 6. We have a lot of the same numbers, but one of the numbers we don't have is the number I have on top, and that is the 5 horse. And I'm going to tell you, if you look at the program, this is a maiden race, okay? This horse is making his first start of the 2020 campaign. Raced twice last year, nothing to write home about, but raced way back in September. They have been drilling this horse in the morning. And when I mean drilling, I'm talking about 4 furlongs and 46 and change, 4 furlongs, 45 and change, or excuse me, 47 and change, 3 furlongs and 36. They're training this maiden like a seasoned vet. All I can tell you, the way they're training and drilling this one, and you pick up Ortiz Jr., Irad, they're sending this horse out of the gate. Can he go the distance? Well, I don't know that answer. We'll find out on Saturday. But this horse will be out in front. And you know what? That's where I want to be in the maiden race. I want to be out there. And if this horse gets a clean lead, they may not catch him. And I think the tote board's going to tell you a lot on Saturday if this horse is getting money. He's 6-1 on the morning line. The connections know what they got. If they're betting this horse, jump on board and use this horse in your exotics as well, as far as exactas and tries for that race. But I'm going deep because after that, it's a wide open race. Anybody can win this race, and that's where you're going to get the price for this pick 4. So to recap, let me bring up the pick 4s, and we'll get Sig's here first. Sig's pick 4 there on the screen. Now, again, this is Saturday. Saratoga, the late pick 4, races 9 through 12. Sig's going 5, 7, 1, 4, 2 in the first leg, 5, 6 in the second leg, singling Tiz the Law in the third leg. That's race 11, number 6. And then in the final leg, 3, 2, 6, 9. And Sig's ticket is $20. My ticket for Saturday, we're going 4, 5, 2, 1, 7 in the first leg, 5, 6 in the second leg, exactly like Sig. And exactly like Sig, we're or teasing, we're singling the 6-horse Tis the Law. And then I go 6 deep in the last race, 5, 3, 9, 7, 2, 6. My ticket costs $30. Yes, I'm making you spend an extra $10, but we're getting those 2 extra horses in that last race, which I think is the race that if we're going to get the bomb in this pick 4, that's where it is going to come from. Guys, I want to thank everybody for joining the show this week. Appreciate you guys commenting live through the show. Try to give you guys some shout outs when we can on the show. Again, Fridays, 1 o'clock. And if you guys want to check out my plays, I'll have a package up tomorrow with some horse racing in it, some of the best races on tap. But again, my focus right now also has got to be the sports, because we've got every sport going right now. And speaking of that, if you want to get 7 days of all of my plays, you can head over to Wager Talk. This deal's ending very soon. Normally $119 for a 7-day package. You can get all of my plays for just $69 for 7 days. Use coupon code WEEK69. Get it right now, 7 days. And guys, I am red hot right now. SIG can confirm that. I send SIG my plays every day. And I always hold my breath when the games are going on, and SIG's sending me texts because he has been known to jinx games when we have leads. And he texts me and tells me, great play, the game's not over. But that's a whole nother day and another show and another story. We'll talk about that. Mr. SIG Black Cat there. But you can check it out. We're on a 9-4 run with all sports at 69% over the last 8 days. And that gets you all of my plays. And we've increased our clients' bankrolls by 14% over that 8-day period. All right, for SIG Las Vegas, follow him on Twitter at SIG Las Vegas. For me, Marco D'Angelo, follow me on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. That is it. We will be back next week here on the Pony Pundits. Talk to you guys then.